Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the session on Dynamics 365 supply chain management improvements that are coming as part of our October 2020 release. My name is Manoj Swaminathan. I'm the General Manager for Dynamics 365 supply chain management as part of Business Solutions. What we have as part of the session today is to kind of give you a quick overview of what all makes up the Dynamics 365 supply chain management solution today. And then we'll talk about three key initiatives that we are adding on as part of the supply chain management set of capabilities. And we'll also touch on a few additional set of investments that what we are bringing in as part of the October update and few resources that you could take a look at post-factus sessions to get more details on all of this, plus more that what we are bringing in as part of the update. Looking into the supply chain management overview, when we talk about Dynamics 365 supply chain management, we have a solution that caters towards different types of customers. At a very high level, we have a solution that caters towards a manufacturer. So that means you make something and then you sell it to your customers. Or you might be a wholesale distributor. In this case, you might be buying stock and then you're selling those based off of your customers' requirements. Or you might be a retailer who might have a set of brick and mortar stores as well as an e-commerce set of site, being able to support your end consumer in terms of meeting their requirements. Or you might be a project-based organization where you might do project-based manufacturing or services that you might provide. We have a supply chain solution that caters towards any or all of these types of customers. And it's natively integrated with financial management solutions as part of D365 Finance, supporting all of recording the financial information of what you go through as part of the supply chain operations, as well as for all the workforce integrations that is needed, whether this is in the context of production or in the context of your distribution through the fulfillment of the warehouses, etc. That's supported through the integration with Dynamics 365 human resources capabilities. It does not have to be a Dynamics 365 solution. It can also be integrated with any other set of third-party solution as well. And the supply chain management solution, if you wanted to look at in terms of what all makes up that solution, this is a next level of detail in terms of what makes up the supply chain management solution. At a very high level, I would describe them against those 5 pillars. That's product information management, planning, inventory and logistics, manufacturing, and the asset management. With the product information management, the solution provides a comprehensive way of actually supporting an ability for the brand owner or the customer to be able to record the comprehensive information about the products that they are selling and to track the complete life cycle aspects of the product. On the planning side, we provide 2 key capabilities, one around the demand planning, demand forecasting aspects of things, as well as what we refer to as supply planning based off of the demand, both the forecasted as well as the actual demand that you have in the system. The system is able to actually recommend what you need to produce or what you need to actually buy, both in terms of raw materials or the finished goods for you to be able to meet the demand, or where do you need to transfer based off of where you have the inventory to where the inventory is required. On the inventory and logistics aspects of things, we actually support a full-fledged capability of a sales and a procurement life cycle and an end-to-end aspects, along with the comprehensive inventory management capabilities and recording of that information from a financial standpoint through the cost accounting set of capabilities. And from a fulfillment standpoint, the solution supports warehouse management as well as the transportation capabilities integrated with any set of third-party transportation carriers that you might be working with. If you are a manufacturer, you could be a discrete or a process-based manufacturer, or you might be following a lean-based manufacturing, or you might operate for a mixed mode, like it could be a discrete and a process-based manufacturer. We support all flavors of manufacturing operations with also an ability to be able to gain insights about how you are performing overall with regards to your effectiveness of your manufacturing plants. We also have a very comprehensive set of capabilities in terms of the assets that you use to manage your end-to-end supply chain operations, and in terms of physically making sure that the assets are available, maintained on time, so that the longevity and the availability of the assets is extended to the best. From a modern solution standpoint, we also offer connected capabilities across the supply chain operations. For example, if you are a manufacturer, we support connected manufacturing aspects of things through the IoT integration as well as part of our supply chain solution. So that's at a high level in terms of what we do today with regards to the supply chain management capabilities. As we look forward to with what we are coming up with as part of our October update, I wanted to talk about three key initiatives as the next set of things as part of this session, but then it's just not limited to those three key capabilities. There's a lot more that what we are bringing in as part of that that will also give you a view of as where you can actually go in and find more information about that. So we'll start with the planning optimization. So this is not necessarily a net new component. It is something that we have also talked about as part of our April 2020 update. What planning optimization is it is a microservice that sits alongside with Dynamics 365 supply chain management. And it's an in-memory based microservice meeting the supply planning requirements for an organization. So what do we mean by that is you could be a distributor, or you could be a retailer, or you could be a manufacturer. For you to know based off of your demand, what do you need to produce, or what do you need to actually transfer, or what do you need to buy, both from a raw material standpoint as well as from a finished goods standpoint, for you to be able to meet that demand. And an ability for us to be able to provide that recommendation in real time is really what planning optimization is meant to do. So it takes the supply and the demand signals from the Dynamics 365 supply chain solution. It does its crunching in memory and then provides the results set back to the supply chain management instance, so that the planner can get real-time view of, based off of the changes to the demand, what needs to be done to meet that demand. What is also interesting with the planning optimization is the current planning capability supporting this requirement is known as master planning, is a batch-based process today. That means customers schedule this process overnight, and this process typically, depending on the volume of the data that it needs to process, can take between 4 hours to 8 hours or more, depending on how complex the data and the volume requirements are. And organizations, with more and more having to react towards the demand changes in real time, the batch-based approach is really not working very well with our customers. So the in-memory based microservice really enables us to be able to offer a solution in providing supply planning recommendations in real time without them having to actually wait for an overnight process to complete. What you also see towards the bottom right is exactly with 7 such organizations as an example, to kind of give you a view of what the old engine used to take in terms of the minutes. And as you can see, in the context of how long it used to take, even towards beyond 8 hours if we were to, and what we have been able to actually provide the results that in the order of few seconds to minutes. So that's a real power in terms of what planning optimizations have been able to provide. We had released the distribution and the retailers that are requirements as part of our April update. And what we are bringing in as part of this update is the supply planning requirements catering towards recommending production orders in real time as well. A call out with regards to this is, with us making the general availability of the planning optimization around distribution and retail scenarios, we had announced the deprecation of the master planning capability for customers using against those scenarios. And if you haven't come across the deprecation announcement, there is a link at the bottom of this that I would highly recommend for you to, and that also talks about how you can approach your transition from the classic planning of today's master planning capability into the planning optimization. As I've mentioned, we're also bringing in the planning optimization support for production. What that means is you can move away from the traditional batch-based process for determining the production orders, and you can do real-time production order recommendations as part of this. And this is something that we would make this generally available, which is currently in preview. What we would be able to provide is we would be able to provide the materials requirements from a raw material standpoint in conjunctions with the BOM and the inventory lead time, so that we could actually support planning for your material requirements based off the subcomponents of the BOM structure as how it's actually defined. And we would do this based off of the product lead times that's actually defined. And the reason as I'm calling out the product lead time is mainly because the route support is still in preview, and it's something that we would firm up in the subsequent set of monthly updates. The first order bit that what we are doing as part of the October update is pretty much around the product lead time. And it would support the calculation of the delays through the supply chain as well with the BOM levels. If you do want to play around with this feature, you can actually enable this through the feature management capabilities. And if you look for under the feature management capabilities, look for the planned production orders for planning optimization, and you would be able to enable that. And then you can actually go in and leverage this capability to try it out as well. So this would complete our ability to be able to support the current classic master planning capability, fully supported through the planning optimization as well. And once we bring comprehensiveness with the current capabilities with the planning optimization, we would do again another announcement around the deprecation for the production aspects of the classic planning as well. So that's something that we would do post October, and we'll make a broader announcement in a similar way like what we have done for the distribution and the retail requirement. So that's at a high level in terms of the planning optimization. So if you haven't looked at it, I would highly recommend that you go take a look at this so that you can actually get to take advantage of the real-time supply planning capabilities and the recommendations that the system can provide instead of the batch-based system that what you are able to go to. Moving on to the next key initiative. So we're also introducing a new add-on called inventory visibility. The background around this is inventory information is so vital and from an end-to-end supply chain for any organization supply chain requirements, whether you are in the context of a raw material from an inbound logistics standpoint, or everything that what you do as an organization in terms of moving between different spots within your supply chain, within your own set of organizations premises. And then if it is leaving your premises to go to your end customer, the outbound logistics aspects of it and the inventory visibility around in terms of how it got impacted through the end-to-end supply chain is so vital. And if it's anything that we have learned through the COVID, the awareness around the inventory information for organizations to be able to manage their supply chain effectively is super critical right now. So we catered towards that, and that is the reason in terms of why we are bringing in the inventory visibility. So what is this add-on is it's again a standalone microservice that sits alongside with Dynamics 365 supply chain management. It's a highly scalable, highly available multi-tenant solution that sits alongside with the D365 supply chain management. And we are making this as a single source of truth from the physical aspects of the inventory information, not the financial aspects of things. That is the cost and all aspects that how we record information in GL today for your inventory movements. That still stays as exactly as what we do today between Dynamics 365 supply chain and Dynamics 365 finance. No changes to that, but just the physical aspects of the inventory information, we manage that through the inventory visibility add-on. We have RESTful APIs as part of this solution. So any channel, that means if you are a retailer and you actually support customers placing orders through different channels, like the mobile applications or third-party systems, you can actually use the RESTful service to gain inventory visibility in real time. And because it is a standalone component that sits alongside with Dynamics 365 supply chain management, this solution will provide inventory visibility to all channels, even if your back office supply chain system has to be brought down for maintenance reasons. So highly available resilience towards providing inventory information to any channel that needs the inventory information is really the key reason as why we have invested in this. And this is an add-on that which you will see as part of the update as well. And it's not only limited to connecting with the D365 systems. In a way, as how we have done this with the RESTful API support, any external system can also take advantage of this to connect to and gain insights about the inventory information in real time. The next one that I wanted to talk about, it's continuing on the resiliency piece and in terms of ensuring resiliency around manufacturing and the warehouse operations. We're extending the standard Dynamics 365 supply chains manufacturing and warehouse operations capability to be able to provide a distributed model whereby you can run your manufacturing and warehouse operations in isolation, independent of your back office supply chain solution, as wherever that they may be running. So what do I mean by that, right? We have the supply chain solution today offered as a SaaS solution that you can run, that we provide, that runs in the cloud. We also have an ability for you to be able to run the whole solution as an on-premises solution. That basically means you deploy this in an infrastructure that you manage as a customer. What this provides you with is a hybrid approach whereby you can actually have certain capabilities of the Dynamics 365 supply chain running in the cloud, and then certain workloads, specifically the mission critical ones that you cannot take downtime for, or you cannot have the throughput or the operations impacted with the manufacturing or the warehouse operations. You have an ability to be able to have a scale unit caters towards this independent of your back office. Why is this relevant? Because we see organizations moving towards ensuring resiliency for their operations by choosing hybrid deployments. So they just don't take a dependency on only one thing that's either a cloud or completely deployed in the on-premises. There's a lot of different factors that controls that. It might be because you might have a production facility that is in a remote location where you don't have proper internet connectivity, or you might be wanted to make sure that you have all the operations that are done in a place where the operations take place, instead of having that to go through a traffic between where the work happens to where you have deployed your main instance. And you probably have a set of outdated set of systems and you wanted to make sure that you want to modernize. So customers are looking for different means by which they could build resiliency so that mission critical things like manufacturing operations, warehouse operations do not get interrupted, whether you go through a maintenance for your back office system. And that's one of the reasons as why we are providing this capability as what we call as a cloud plus edge deployments, if you were to, that allows you to be able to go in and have a separate scale unit that you can deploy in your manufacturing facility, or again deploy it in the cloud closer to where your manufacturing facility is, independent of your back office supply chain. So what does the solution look like? So we today have Dynamics 365 supply chain management capability that provides the manufacturing and the warehouse capabilities end to end as a back office set of things. But then you also have the manufacturing execution and the warehouse execution. So what does this mean is, every time I refer to manufacturing operations and warehouse operations, you have the plan aspect of it and the execution aspects of it. The planning is where you determine what needs to be produced or what is the actual work that needs to get executed to fulfill the customer orders based off of the demand that you have. The actual execution happens in the production facility from a manufacturing standpoint, or in the warehouse facility in terms of fulfilling the orders by doing the pick, pack, ship, containerize, and then take it through the truck in whatever carrier set which you actually go in and use. So we've isolated the execution aspects from the planning capabilities, and we're able to actually deploy the execution aspects as a standalone workloads independent of where you have your back office system. So that in and itself enabled us to be able to actually provide you with an ability for you to be able to deploy your D365 supply chain management solution as a back office solution in the cloud. This powers you with being able to do all kinds of complex planning variations that you probably might have to go do, and then have these scale units deployed, and you could deploy them again in a cloud location or a cloud data center, that wherever is your facility is and closer to that facility, or you could completely install the workload or the scale unit locally in an infrastructure that you manage as a customer. So with that, what we are able to actually provide is, if you're doing this as a scale unit deployed in a local in a data center closer to your facility, you could operate them in a distributed way, supporting different throughput requirements for each of those facilities independent of your back office. Or if you deploy them in a local infrastructure in that facility as a separate scale unit, which we refer to as an edge scale unit, you could operate even as a disconnected mode to run your manufacturing operations and warehouse operations. So this is really huge for organizations to be able to run their manufacturing operations, warehouse operations without any interruptions, independent of your back office availability. So what this really empowers customers, right? If you look at it from the way as what you can do now, you truly have a choice as how you want it to, and we support this in a fully managed way, in a way as how we offer this solution. So you as a customer could run everything in the cloud. So that's the single cloud deployment which we already have. Or you could run everything on premises, and that's the local business data solution that you see in the middle. But if you have throughput issues, or if you have connectivity issues because of the latency reason, you could potentially go and deploy a scale unit for requiring your manufacturing operations and production operations to be run without any interruption in a data center closer to the facility. Or if you want a true disconnected operations, you could deploy that as an edge scale unit. That means you can deploy the whole workload of manufacturing execution and warehouse execution in an infrastructure, and we have a recommendation for what we would suggest as a recommended infrastructure. And you can deploy that locally in an infrastructure, and you can manage that as well. And you as a customer can mix and match, and we would have what we call as a scale unit manager that allows you as a customer to get a topology view of where all you are operating as a production site or as a warehouse facility, in conjunction with where you have your main back office instance, and the kind of workload that you are running in terms of each of these facilities. And the system would be able to recommend how you can actually leverage the scale unit model to distribute those operations for high availability and high throughput requirements, without getting in to actually have all of that managed in a single back office instance. So should your back office instance have to be brought down for maintenance, you don't have to worry about bringing your plant down or bringing your warehouse down and not being able to meet your customers' fulfillment requirements. You would still be able to continue to execute on those while your back office is going through the maintenance. So that's a real powerful capability that we are bringing in as part of this update as well. And we have a demo that will kind of give you a glimpse of what this whole experience would look like for you to be able to actually go in and manage this in a self-service way. So hopefully that got you excited, but it's just not limited to these three initiatives alone. We do have some additional investments. Again, I'm not calling out all of those that what we are bringing in as a breadth of end-to-end supply chain capabilities. Here again, I'm only calling out few more interesting set of things across those pillars that I walked you through in terms of the current capabilities. Under planning, we're still continuing to invest with the classic planning to make sure that customers don't have to go through any kind of pains that if you might have a pain in terms of managing the classic planning today. So we have an ability for you to be able to manage your classic planning and in terms of measuring the performance aspects of it, know which particular activity of your overall classic planning flow is being bottlenecked or is actually behaving differently from yesterday's workload if you were to, and get alerted about it so you can do something with that. And we look at that aspect as well from an infrastructure standpoint, but you now have an ability to be able to understand from a business perspective through that. So we provide you with a Gantt view so you can get an understanding of that. We have enhanced the firming process now with enough support for parallelization. So you gain the same way as how the classic planning supports, running with multiple parallel workers. You can also do that on the firming operation as well. If you haven't looked at that, I would highly recommend to go look at the parallelization aspects of the firming so you can actually get to have your firming time reduced as well in a similar way, like how you've been leveraging the parallel threads to minimize the time for your overall planning process. On the manufacturing, outside of the whole manufacturing as a workload that you saw, the manufacturing execution experience, the job card, there is a bunch of things that what we've actually done in terms of enabling the experience to be a lot more conducive for touch enabled. Again, with the COVID set of things, we want to be able to actually have users go and clean the screens on a periodic basis. There's a because of how the screens can get dirty, there's different skins that what we've actually provided. So you have enough contrast that which you can actually go in and look at. So there's a whole slew of things that what we have listened to the feedback from you as customers have been providing through various channels. We've addressed a whole bunch of this that should get you guys excited as well. So do take a look at that and give us feedback on that as well. The connected manufacturing is something that we had talked about as part of the April update. And what this is nothing but the infusion of IoT integration into the manufacturing execution. We've made that generally available now. And if you have not actually looked into that, I would highly recommend that to go take a look at it. So this would give you an ability to be able to do connected manufacturing, connected quality type scenarios for you to be able to do understand the real-time flow of part in, part out, the efficiencies and effectiveness of those production aspects, as well as the quality aspects in real time. On the inventory and the logistics bucket, there's a lot of investments that what we have actually done, but just to kind of call out a few things, we are introducing what we call a simplified views for our sales, procurement, and a bunch of critical workbenches across the board to make sure that the relevant personas deal with only a limited set of information as what's meaningful for them, instead of them having to actually go deal with a numerous set of information that they hardly ever go in and need of, or they actually go in and interact with. So this not only gives you relevant information in a small real estate of this in a screen, but it also improves the performance aspect of it because we're now dealing with a very small set of information as opposed to everything to what we used to go do. So sales, procurement set of workbenches have gone through a significant transformation as part of this. I would highly encourage you to go take a look at that and take advantage of them as well. So portals is all about the external facing set of experiences like customer portal type things. We have announced as part of an early preview with the April update. So this is something that we are making it broadly available as part of this update as well. So this is again leveraging our Power Platform capabilities with the Power Portals. So if you haven't looked at that, we provide an out-of-the-box templates for business scenarios that customers can go use it in a self-service manner. And you can extend these templates so you can have additional set of portlet capabilities developed to add to what we have provided as well to create your customer portal experience. In a similar way, like what we have done on the manufacturing execution, there's a lot of feedback that we have received around the productivity aspects for improving the warehouse mobile app experience. We've invested quite a bunch in terms of improving that, and that's something that you would see as part of the update as well. Workforce planning in warehouse have been a big requirement. So if you are knowing that this is the work that needs to get executed in a particular shift, based off the past performance of the workforce, what is the workforce requirement that you need to make sure that you're going to be able to fulfill the work requirements in a given shift, or if there are any risks, you would be able to identify those as well. So there's a nice set of visualization and a configuration that we have brought in that you can take advantage of. So not only the work planning aspects of it, the workforce required to be able to accomplish that work is something that we have brought in as well as part of this. These are just few highlights in the warehouse. Warehouse is one area where we have made significant investments and improvements that we've brought in as well. And if you go look at the release notes that which I have as a reference towards the resources, you can get a comprehensive set of changes that we've brought in as part of this as well. I'm only calling out the inventory valuation is one of the key things at which the customers typically run as part of the period end. And it's also a pain point today. And we have done a ton of enhancements in this that allows you to be able to run this in a fraction of time as opposed to how it used to be as a long running process. And that should enable you to be able to get your period end brought down in a significant way as well in terms of time that it takes for you to be able to do period end activities around inventory management aspects of things. We're continuing to invest with our asset management as well, which got introduced with our October 2019 release. We're continuing to invest in that along with that standard capabilities of the maintenance are things that what we have invested. We have been heavily doubling down on making sure that the asset information is available in CDS. So there's seamless integration with field services from an out-of-the-box perspective, but also any third-party solutions, or if you wanted to leverage Power Platform type capabilities to build experiences on top of the asset information, you would now be able to do it the way as how we've actually done. So that's, again, not every bit of investments that what we have done, just again highlights around some of those things that what we are bringing in. With that, we actually have a short demo that will kind of take you through showing you the planning optimization capabilities, the scale unit model in terms of how you can actually take advantage of the scale units to have your manufacturing operations and warehouse operations in a resilient way, along with the inventory visibility is something that you would see as part of the demo. And I would highly encourage you to actually go take a look at that aspect as well.
Thanks, Manoj. Lippert Components, a world leader in manufacturing recreational vehicle products globally across over 70 facilities, has a team of more than 9,000 members who work together to bring innovative product solutions to market daily. Having a resilient IT infrastructure is critically important. With so many global facilities, they need to avoid any disruption. For example, as a CIO, I am going to be looking for insights into identifying bottlenecks early, sourcing suggestions that can improve the capacity and remove any business delays with the scope to focus in on a site. I can gain insights around the network traffic or timeouts, which leads to an overview across the whole infrastructure, from the Florence plant in Italy to Pendleton in Oregon. When a workload or indeed an employee experiences delays, this can impact productivity and disrupt customer order fulfillments. For example, a bottleneck is being indicated for processing of data across from the Florence plant to a warehouse over in Oregon. So as the CIO, I could simulate an improvement in one of two ways. Firstly, I could evaluate a regional cloud scale unit to ensure dedicated processing of work operations without any influence from other operations within my supply chain. We can then associate a type of workload. In my case, it's going to be the warehouse for a particular site and plant, and then I would assign the instance across to a particular spoke, which as the CIO, I can then visually see the infrastructure has changed by the addition of scale units and potentially the impact on network latency and traffic load, with the earlier bottleneck having gone. I could also evaluate the edge scale unit running directly in the facility. This guarantees maximum availability, redundancy, and shields operations from external factors like temporary communication outages. This can be done with an Azure stack instead of selecting and configuring custom hardware, simplifying operations significantly. And in both scenarios, I can simulate and improve resiliency and shield facilities from downtimes, overloads, and temporary communication disconnects. And I've kept data synchronizing globally, especially important for aspects like distributed order management and customer fulfillments. Having improved the resiliency of operations, we can now drill down a level and look at it from the lens of a local machine operator who is utilizing the new production floor execution. The UX is touch focused with a time delay to allow sanitization between shared workers, and it can bring together key information along with the opportunity to highlight telemetry relating to the machine at hand. For instance, here I have the IoT sensor information coming together along with my overall equipment effectiveness, and if there are camera feeds, then they can be associated too. It's also enabled to help the operator when either servicing, calibrating, or resetting into an unfamiliar task with the use of Dynamics 365 Guides experience. Now, in the context of Lippert components, they have a vision of moving away from disparate data solutions, so enabling continuity of data is going to be key. Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management enables through virtual entities data with the Common Data Service, which in turn enables services such as inventory visibility to use it as a source to report upon. Now, here is an instance of where inventory visibility is being used from a reporting perspective. Data is being made available to a local machine operator who can click through and identify where the local on-hand inventory is of some components and where to find them in the warehouse. Inventory visibility as a service delivers an enhanced supply chain visibility with hyperscalability, of which this is just one potential use case. Other examples could be sharing with key suppliers, customers to enhance demand forecasting through RESTful APIs.
As a reference point that I've been highlighting throughout this session, this is a link to our release notes that would have all the details of what we are bringing in with our update, and we'll go and refresh that to make sure that it has the content that we're going to be including as part of the launch as well. So I'll highly encourage, if you haven't looked at it, to go take a look at the release notes, as well as the capabilities that I've been touching up on as part of what we had called out with our April 2020 update as well. So that's pretty much what I had as part of the session. So hopefully you found this information useful. Do reach out to us if you have any questions, or if you would like to know more about any of these capabilities, or if you didn't see us talk about certain things that you are curious about to see if we have invested in that as well. Feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to actually provide any additional information that you might be in need of. So with that, thank you so much for listening to this presentation on the Dynamics 365 supply chain management improvements that we are bringing in as part of our October update. Thank you so much.